How we doing, everybody? Alrighty, let's get back to the old city Leviathan. Okay, so hopefully this will pick up where we left off. If I just go ahead and hit continue, shouldn't give us any trouble. My dream. Okay, I think that's where we were. Alright,
I actually knew the man who lived here. I believe his name was Solomon, though he insisted that the matter was irrelevant. During the few times we spoke, he seemed ungrateful to the point of mental masochism. He would consistently act as though you have somehow maliciously trapped him within your confines to limit what can be done with the outside. I, of course, know you better. You and I have a special relationship.
Cool. Let me just check something here. Alrighty. So, starts with a little narration, but let's move on. Interesting. Part 1 is uploaded from our last stream. I don't know how much I want to re-explain sort of what was going on last time. Because, I mean, normally I would, but this is a very abstract game. Oh, well.
Before the fall, I had access to a monolithic complex of voices. My parents would simply drop me off with the instruction to learn. Vague, certainly, but the uncharted nature of the command provided me the freedom to let my interest plot the course. My travels picked up in speed as the voices became stronger, pulling me ashore to distant lands where discovery welcomed me with open arms.
Okay. So I hope we didn't miss any of these, but this is, if you remember from the last stream, we were talking about how this is sort of about three groups and how they understand the nature of truth or epistemology, the nature of how you believe we can come to know truth, and how all three of them are sort of shown to be carried out to their extreme, to the point of tyranny. I don't think we missed any of these pages, fortunately, but here's maybe the first one where it starts to define some of these terms. Oh, yeah, page 161. Yeah, there's a lot of reading in this game. Council of Modernity. After the global incident in blank, survivors divided themselves into three distinct groups based on belief structures post-fall. The ideological concerns of people still remained, while structures failed to support the conflict. So what was a debate gave way to violence. The council's primary role was to organize people into categories, thus allowing discussion between the larger parties to take place in a non-violent manner. Members of these categories are labeled dwellers. Anyone unaligned with the available overarching ideologies is actively called to adopt the title of Minotaur. So, this guy that we are identified as Jonah, and he called himself a Minotaur. So that's interesting. So the council was officially formed in something, and up to the writing of this encyclopedia, to preserve voices on request of the council. There have been only three ideological groups. And I think this is the portion of the game where we start to see, we saw the names of the groups so far. It was Unknowing, I can't remember. Unknowing was one of them. The Guild was another one, I think. But I think we start to see some of these definitions in this portion. Here's another piece of paper. So Guild of the Greater Eye, right. The Guild. The Guild is one of the three ideological groups that spawned from the formation of the Council, see Council of Modernity. Their ideology consists of basic theism. Post-fall, prior religions lost their structure, so a sort of individualism took place. This effectively shattered any theological differences. This faction agreed to unite under the assumption that a deity does exist, even if that deity's exact definition is various amongst the members. The one understanding that the members all share. This ideological group's major goal is to rebuild a society that allows for freedom of religious expression. The primary method of achieving this, at the present, is through education. Under the regulations agreed upon by the Council at large, the Guild's methodology consists of presenting the possibility of a life outside the physical, an entity not bound by physical laws. Okay, so there's one of the three, the Guild of the Greater Eye, and it seems to be defined sort of as anyone who considers themselves religious, who believes in a supreme being. Okay, so obviously Christianity is going to be a little more specific than that, if you're one of my Christian friends and you want to be more specific about it, but point of the game is not quite to define the categories that specifically. But that's sort of a philosophy that of epistemology that includes revelation, you might say. Okay, here's another one, I think. What do we got? Unknowing. Okay, the Unknowing are one of the three ideological groups that spawned from the formation of the Council. See Council of Modernity. Their ideology consists of a loose form of agnosticism. Finding a general consensus amidst this group has presented several structural problems, and their refusal to adopt any leader has resulted in an almost anarchic outlook. However, their methodology has almost no variation. The Unknowing seek to rid any potential new society of the concept of objective truth. Right. And in doing so, they aim to eliminate oppression entirely, leaving truth to individuals. Their goal is to create a society that adopts subjective truth. Okay. So, I just went to see Jordan Peterson live last night, by the way. That's actually relevant here. I don't know if any of you know who Jordan Peterson is, but he's got a real beef with postmodernism. Basically, postmodernists tend to fight against any idea of an overarching narrative with which to sort of judge the world and understand objective truth. And that's sort of what the Unknowing is defined as, because they see like dogmatic truth claims simply as a way to oppress. And to avoid tyranny. But like I said before, this game is sort of a story of how all three of these forms of seeing truth can be used to tyrannize. So how could an Unknowing group be seen as a way of tyrannizing? Well, this game actually gets into that. It's pretty interesting. Oh, here we go. Game almost isn't the right word for this because it's a walking simulator. There's no puzzles or real challenges in terms of like skill, like playing Doom or a first-person shooter or anything like that. But it's more a matter of whether you're willing to put your mind to work to understand sort of the themes being explored. One giant leap for man, one small step for mankind. Interesting. Back here again, where we started. Okay. We went down there. Let's go down again. So usually after you see one of those sort of visions, some of the physical things going on reappear in this world. I woke up. Then I woke up. Come to you in a moment. What's down here? Oh gosh. We see some ickiness. Some of the nasty things that are going on. You're...
But if he could only have seen your qualities, your utilitarian and defensive necessity.
Okay. Okay, so we can go... Is this where I was before? Nowhere to go in here. Okay, good. Looks like we have 2 viewers at the moment. Hello. Welcome, welcome. I can see your comments if you care to give some input. I'm not going to go through there yet. I think it'll take me where I don't want to go yet. Now we're upstairs. Okay. Oh, this is what I saw.
Naturally, I have my moments where I wish I could sail, but these are nothing but unchecked emotional discharges amidst an otherwise passably clear and somewhat intact realism. Solomon never could stop the dreaming. His unrestrained imagination grew until the contrast was too much, and he was forced to take the honorable route, like so many of the others who litter the walls of your interior.
How's it going, Dennis? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so now we have Order of the Cosmos. So we've seen the Unknowing, Guild of the Eye, whatever that was called. And now the Order of the Cosmos. So the Order is one of 3 ideological groups that spawned from the formation of the Council. See Council of Modernity. Their ideology consists of a staunch atheism. Members were initially concerned that survivors would rebuild a society with what they called the mistakes of the past. With the structures gone, post-fall, they saw a danger in regressing to a barbaric religious state where society suppresses unbelievers. However, as of writing this encyclopedia, the Order has become more generally concerned with presenting atheism as the only sensible possibility. Their methodology for achieving this goal is based primarily on discussion. Their belief is that progress can only be made through discussion and that fact will win out over falsehood given an honest dialectic approach. So, yeah, I mentioned I saw Jordan Peterson last night. So this kind of reminds me of sort of a debate between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. That basically sounds like Sam Harris's position. Staunch atheism, that if we stick to facts, as he understands them anyways, then ethics and morality can be drawn from facts in a way that will organize society. And that will take us away from the violence that comes from dogmatism and religion. Right. So that's number 3. So now we have definitions for all 3 groups. And so now I think the game basically starts getting into... the game basically starts getting into how all 3 of these can actually become tyrannical. It's really interesting. Now again, as Christians, like, we believe one of them's right, and that we take sort of a more specific version of the theistic group. And so the game's almost like, I don't know, it's not taking a stance, it's sort of critiquing how all 3 of these can become dogmatic, and so it's like, it's worth thinking about even though you think one of them's right, whereas the game seems to be agnostic as to whether any of them are right. me see. Let's see, where was I? We were here. There was an exit before, but I can't remember where it was. See, this is the quicker pace. If I hold, doesn't make a big difference. All right. Let's go over here. Yeah, this is nothing. Okay. Up we go. Okay. Oh, look, an arrow. How do you like that? Alright, so I've been down there. Let's see. Ah.
The dreams he created were his escape. I often feel as though they can only function as such. They have a marginal effect, yes, but the required time for any real impact is far too great. Dreams that contribute are a grain of sand on a shoreline far away from here, and Tarshish feels much closer.
Tarshish was where Jonah fled to when he didn't want to fulfill his role as a prophet. They parallel this to the story of Jonah in a lot of ways, as the character's name is Jonah. Alright, green pipes. Installed in something. They provide clean water to the exterior of the old city. Natural water in and around blank island historically had problems with deposits of something, making it extremely dangerous to consume. See unclean water or void. Notable documented effects of the unclean water include hallucination, severe migraines, and thoughts of suicide. The extreme mental effects of the unclean water makes filtration and treatment a necessity. While numerous treatment facilities exist around the outer ring of the island, all filtered water feeds back into the inland before being filtered again and fed to the exterior, effectively making the old city the source of the clean water. The entire process is automated with an estimated lifespan of around something years. After the global incident in the something council, the Council of Modernity, the council split the flow from the interior into three groups. The first group serves the Guild of the Greater Eye. The second serves the Unknowing, and the third serves the Order. Okay. So the water represents something. I think it sort of represents unfiltered knowledge, almost. Unfiltered thought. That's, well, at least one theory. Is there anything in here? Not really. And Jonah was in the belly of the beast for 3 days and 3 nights. Yep. Look, it's the eye. Alright, keep going here. I think we want to go this way. Oh, look, it says exit. Something down here? I think I've been down here. Yeah, okay.
Perhaps his dreams were a ladder leading to uselessness. Perhaps my dreams are the same.
Okay, what's this one? Minotaur. The Minotaurs were elected as moderators in the discussions between the three ideological groups of the Council. See Council of Modernity. Their usefulness is directly related to their ability to maintain fairness, instrumental in preventing violent outbreaks and infighting. Where were we? Yeah. The Minotaurs do not align with any particular ideology. They act as free agents in a discussion between three established factions. A major source of support for the Minotaurs is another party named... Looks like it's going to say Leviathan. The old city, which is now quarantined because of... So, some things are being blacked out here. Now that's interesting. I'm supposedly in this group that's supposed to be neutral. Maybe the game's being self-aware about this, but as a reformed Christian thinker, like, I sort of belong to a way of thinking called presuppositionalism, which sort of acknowledges that neutrality is kind of a myth. There's no real possibility of neutrality because you approach every ideological discussion with axioms, you won't, whether you acknowledge them or not.
World? Did you even exist? Were you thrown overboard when your fall occurred, floundering in a new and terrifying negativity? My transition was not a comfortable one, so in this we can feel a measure of companionship.
Interesting. Okay. What have we next?
Books on top of books on top of books. Voices creeping in from the vasts of a larger and more ancient world, now trapped in the claustrophobia of narrow minds and cold halls.
Anything in here?
The old world was worthy of the waters that still flow from the inland. These green pipes that provide us with the basic sustenance we need for a pointless existence are nothing but charitable structures for an already stagnant populace. In this sense, our ideas never change because we rejected the source for its fruits.
We rejected the source for its fruits. Heard someone say about Western society, faithfulness begat prosperity, and the daughter devoured the mother. Think about that for a while. Okay, so here we go. Here is some writing from one of the three groups. Okay, when we discovered this cache of voices, the larger goal was already clear. We aim to unveil truth in all its objective and simple nature. Voices are nothing but relics of ancient discovery, and as obsolete as the old findings are. They may still act as ladders to a more complete picture of understanding. Fact, you see. Fact is unchanging and ultimately understandable. It is only in fact that our allegiance should reside. So this is, I think, the atheistic sort of outlook. I hope you would permit me to say, my dear fellows, that fact does not respect our personal bonds. So even in community, we should exhibit no final loyalty. What is more, any respect for those who choose to ignore fact is indefensible. Any respect for those who choose to ignore fact, yeah. Namely, the guild and their rather simple band of acolytes, shall we say, are not to be tolerated. Yes, the unknowing are also similarly detestable. While the guild distorts truth, the unknowing reject it outright. Okay. So it's kind of like an atheist saying, religious people distort the truth, agnostics reject truth outright. In other words, you shouldn't be an agnostic either because the atheistic facts of the world are so clear. After all, are we to consider their position untrue by nature of their claim? No, truth is a simple thing, beautiful in all its grandeur and connected nature. The whole of the thing, the object, it's singular. It is only under the lens that truth becomes more complex. These simpletons would have you reject the connections of our findings. They would have you ignore the simple and singular nature of a grander cosmos in favor of some singular fantasy, as if fact is a slave to some other imaginary and entirely unfounded voice. Moreover, it should be noted that tradition, in respect to voices, functions to obscure fact itself. Like a great cloud of blight, tradition draws lesser minds away from facts towards ignorance. This evil cannot be tolerated, and its followers, guild or unknowing, should be assaulted with every measure of cruelty that they so mindlessly show to us. Do what you must, defile, burn, torture, and eradicate. Fact must prevail for the good of all. We must annihilate this illusion of the dream. Dreams are for those who cannot understand. Fact, my dear fellows, fact is what will guide us to a brighter tomorrow, a more comfortable future. Listen to these voices for the distant impressions that fact has left on times long past. Beyond this, they are worthless. Beyond their minimal connection to the larger singular cosmos, they are chaff. Tradition is nothing but the inhibition of revelation, the blocking force between us and understanding. The source should be worthless beyond what it has already provided. To regress to this source would be a devolution. Tradition is nothing but the inhibition of revelation. Right, okay. The blocking force between us and revelation. Okay. Well, there you go. And there's your example. That's how the atheistic, quote-unquote, fact-based worldview can become dogmatic and tyrannical. So here we go. The Overseer, Principal of Northwest Quad. If you see a dweller named Bell, restrain her immediately. We are certain that she has defected to the guild cause, and she should not be allowed to harm your garrison with any form of espionage. Intelligence has confirmed that her defection is indeed a fact. A fact, with a capital F. She may try to persuade you that she is simply escaping guild captivity, but this is not the case. Use whatever means necessary to extract guild information from her. To Overseer and Principal of the Northwestern Quad. Notice has been received that Bell is being protected by the guild. The information she has about our encampment may compromise the area. As a precaution, send units 8, 4, 7, and 15 down to the tunnels to the docks. We'll be sending explosives to block off your subway access point. This will leave you and your family alone with a single unit of infantry. It is imperative that you stay and maintain the area. Even in personal bonds, we must exhibit no final loyalty. Of course, while I'm sure this precautionary measure will prove ultimately unnecessary, we will have to block our communication for several months. If anything does happen, it was a pleasure serving with you. One day our certainty will win out over the evil of the guild, and truth will be apparent to all. Okay. A little more insight there. Down here, eh? What do we got? Okay. Watch your step. What's down here, eh? Let me down. Okay. I'm done. Oh, goody. Another something. We got 3 viewers. Hello, everybody. Okay.
I have to believe that my dreams have some worth, lest I loose the same anchor into shoal. I have to believe that creation itself can bring life to cyclical demise.
Uh-huh. Tarshish is manifesting piece by piece. All you can do now is hope that the eschaton sees its fruits. Huh. Back here again. What do we got? Oh boy. Now we see the carnage. I'm supposed to be over here? Huh, interesting. What do we got? What's out here? Oopsies. Uh-huh. Now leaving the old city. Good luck.
Escape can take many forms, I see.
Wow. Oh boy.
Oh, they all do the same thing. They all claim a certainty that makes the certainty of others moot. Yes, again and again I know. Truth must be compatible with itself. But is that not illusory? Is truth itself not something that is in essence unattainable? My realism's present, but so are my dreams. And to claim otherwise is a dream all the same. It's as if they have dreamt of a world without dreams. It's as if their world is one in which truth has revealed itself in an anthropomorphic turn, allowing us all to see it clearly and grasp it amidst the darkness. Sad, yes, that we all see a different beacon. Now, all I see is void, and I do not know what's left other than to give up and stagnate in your belly. I may not have their full sense of certainty, but as of now, I cannot present an alternative. Truth must be compatible with itself. But that is irrelevant when truth is outside our reach. Onward with conflict, then, and onward with my labyrinth.
Anything over here? Truth must be compatible with itself. Amen. Okay. Our dream.
One of the larger Unknowing camps is nearby. Their lack of organization tends to make it difficult for them to avoid the conflicts between the Guild and the Order. Of course, the Unknowing themselves make their own little raids. This results in it being difficult to maintain any sense of pity. Regardless, I'm sure the onslaught was horrendous. People never fight harder than when someone else attempts to uproot their anchor, even if that someone only does so by existing.
Oh, wow. No one fights harder than when someone's trying to uproot their anchor. Yeah. Hold on a second. A lot of stuff down there. I think... Oh, what's this say? I guess we thought this would be some sort of haven. A light on a hill. We thought we could hide away from what the other dwellers were doing to each other. Although we hated them just as much as they hated us. I guess we thought we were simply right, making us exempt from the conflict. It's all backwards, you know. I mean, I get it. The world fell. Yes, everything went to bleep. It's just that I think we assumed people would be largely the same after the old world left us. But just listen to me. I sound like the Minotaur, like a Minotaur, speaking in circles about how terrible we all are, with not a friend in the world to comfort me. It's funny how I thought of them as antisocial, insufferable, and worst of all, arrogant. Now I feel as though I see the point in the isolation. I hate that it has to be this way. Let's just open. Alright, I'm not going to go out there yet. Saw another way back here. Let me through. Uh-huh. What is this?
We're getting closer, Leviathan. I'm sad to say that our time together might be ending.
Okay, so I don't think I can go through here yet. No. Okay, good. Already at 43 minutes. Wow. Alright, out we go. Welcome to Jerusalem.
All of our dreams at their core involve some sort of contentment. This is the one desire we all share, but is it a goal that really should be met? After finding contentment, what then? Where is there left to explore after the last temporary comforts of happiness have been extracted?
Unbending quest for truth? Interesting. Let me down. Here we go. And onward. I'm starting to remember some of this. What's this? Okay. Here we go. What is this? Look at all the fish. Everyone abandoned Jerusalem after we caught word that the guild force was continuing onward past the minor... sorry. Get rid of some notifications here. Here we go. Okay. What did it say? Everyone abandoned Jerusalem after we caught word that the guild force was continuing onward past the minor order camp near the subway access point. It's just me now. I have several options in front of me, but only 3 that really matter at the present. Firstly, I could simply rejoin with my old Unknowing group that has now left our Jerusalem. This is particularly unwanted because of our recent disagreement. Second, I could wait here and die when the guild inevitably takes the place. But the third option is what intrigues me. What if I went the Minotaur route? It's astonishing to me that I'm even considering it, given their apparent outlook on life. But there's something about the journey itself. There's something about that world, a massive world that can only really be seen by making one's own world small. From what I can tell, you essentially have to deconstruct your entire universe in order for the larger macrocosm to take over. Interesting. Let me do one thing here. Alright. Gotta take care of something on my phone. Okay, great. Where I came down from. Yeah.
Our island is plagued with the fruits of a collective mental landscape that defines us as desperately holding on to something correct. So there is no place to hide without truly secluding or perhaps risking the inland. On some level, I feel as though I cannot blame the dwellers. Their zeal for truth is commendable. They're fighting for something, rather than keeping it to themselves. They're acting instead of hiding. Still, must cruelty be the manifestation of certainty? If only truth did not need to be compatible with itself. If only we didn't need an anchor to be right. If only we could sail, instead of collecting dust on the memories of voyages past.
All right, it's time. I have made my decision. The guild will be here in 3 days, and my venture in isolation awaits. It's odd that I never acquired any sort of dubbing. I remember that the Old Minotaurs, the ones who still remember the pre-fallen world, acquired the title after breaking from the council. It's all rather stupid. Modernity, they called themselves. Members of the guild, order, and the Unknowing all gathered together to make decisions on who is what before the conflicts even began. All it took was one spark, a single disagreement between people entrenched in their own ideas, to initiate an infinite turmoil. The guild called it heresy, the order called it ignorance, and the Unknowing sat around screaming about their need to be educated, so as to stop the oppression. To think, the ideas weren't even their own. Their ideas came straight from the old city, Yes, I have seen how this works. These green pipes, these charitable structures, they are the root of our entrenchment. Well, no longer. I will find the source. The floodgates. Okay. Is that where I came from? Yes. Hey. Something's supposed to be in here? No. Leviathan. These are all little dwellings, I guess. Ah, now we are... I believe this is the... guild? This is the theistic version here. Ah, but the narrative. If only they could have seen that we all see. Every last one of us. Dwellers, Minotaurs, Mods, all of us. We all see. Every last man, woman, and child on this island can truly see. It is simply that we all see a different narrative, a different truth. Oppression of the diversity of voice. So no, this is not the guild. Okay, this is the Unknowing. Oppression of the diversity of voice. Yes, the diversity of truth is what makes truth a nonsensical enterprise, fit only for those who would oppress. Wait a second. The rules are gone, yes, gone, and there is nowhere now to return but to the truth of all truth. These voices of old are yet more narratives for the mixing pot of our time, the great soup of numerosity that is our species. We should welcome them. We should embrace their absolute correctness as a lack of correctness itself. We can be known? Nothing. What can be understood? Nothing. Oppression is the monopoly of a narrative where other narratives could lie. You fools, you absolute insane mongrels. I hate you. I hate you all in your non-competitive Narai. I'm sorry to forgive. Do forgive me, please, but only in my love for our collective narrative can I condone the rejection of your entirely problematic oppression. Oh boy, sounds like an SJW, doesn't it? Idiots, yes. Truth must be compatible with itself, you say? No, truth must be allowed. I reject the singular nature of your universe, O order and your pretension. I reject the infallible nature of your tradition, guild, and I reject every last one of you preposterous nuisances who would stifle my narrative. My narrative is a dream? Ha, would you suggest that there is a reality that is not my own, not your own, and not of anyone to have ever thought? You fool, you pretentious, arrogant fool. There are no dreams. There is only a multiplicity of narratives that all show an equally diverse truth that aligns itself with the experience of those who would be willing to live, to imagine. I will kill you, O you oppressors. I will not hesitate to cut your heads off, every last one of you stupid buffoons, and drink the blood of your useless corpses. I stand for the right of the people, the right of all people, to their own truth. Come forth those who would destroy my narrative, and show your vile and disgusting nature. I am certain that you are wrong, you cretins. Cretins? I don't know. And I will not stop until you allow our voices in all of their diversity to be heard. The voice of one who is unknowing. There you go. And that is how, very accurately, the unknowing, postmodern, you might say, voices can become tyrannical. Tyrannizing in the name of being victimized. Okay, let us move on. What have we here? Ooh. Okay, there's a door there. Okay. Okay. What's over here? Oh. Wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't think I want to go here yet. Go back. What's over here?
Is this dream truly manifesting? Could the voyage be useful beyond escape?
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. So, I see what he's talking about here. We got this hand coming through the wall. Sort of part of the dreamlike world we've been visiting, sort of in delusions. But now it's in this actual city. Here we go. Alright. Yeah, I guess we needed to see that. Okay, let's go. Something over there. What's over here? Oh, that's where I was looking out of before, I believe. What is this? After writing that last note, I was met by an old Minotaur who called himself Abraham. His sudden appearance startled me, but he seemed far more concerned with the fact that I was writing my thoughts down. I must admit, I don't really know why I am doing so. He kept saying something about an ideal. He was almost manic, isolated for years, I'm sure. Anyway, amidst all of the shouting and crazed laughing, I could make out several things that seemed to make sense. He spoke of the inland and how what all of the Minotaurs thought was enlightenment was actually a lack of what we once held dear. He said that our certainty need be destroyed, but that the old city still holds our belief. I was already fascinated, but then he told me a story. I will write it down. He said that there was once a beggar who lived in a hut. The man was so poor that he could not afford to repair his hut. Each of the numerous times a storm would damage it, leaky and dank. His residence was simply a sad excuse for the minimum requirements of survival. One day a golem, an impressive creature of stone and strength, came to his hut. The beggar, embarrassed by his abode, reluctantly decided to let it inside. The golem offered the beggar a new home in genuine charity. Struck by the sincerity of this creature, the beggar accepted the offer. The golem began to work. His method was altogether astonishing. Consistency abounded in the efficient construction of this new home. In fact, the golem began construction around the original hut. The beggar did not even have to move as his new residence was created, and what a residence it was. To the surprise and delight of the beggar, the golem constructed a castle laced with beautiful tapestries and pristine marble. The structure's strongest quality was its security. After the work was finished and the golem had left, the beggar now sat atop his defenses with an overwhelming sense of certainty. No longer would the winds and rain threaten him. The beggar, now elevated to royalty, had no need to leave his new residence. All that he needed was within the castle's walls. He lived in the fortress until his death, happy and content. After telling me this, the Minotaur asked me if I would have accepted the golem's offer. Of course I said yes. After all, a castle is far better than a hut. This much is obvious, but Abraham then said something that made me question myself. He said, if only he had not invited it in. Promising a seductively safe life, it was welcomed, but around him, it only built a cage. Yeah. Moving on. It's like I could try to do commentary on all this, but I have to think about it. Alright. This was the other way. We are... Here we go. Behemoth. Uh-huh. Another one of these places. Put aside Leviathan. Explore your dreams until the world fades and progress is maintained.
I remember the exact moment. I remember the slight touch of ocean air passing over my skin as I stared aimlessly into the afternoon sky. It's interesting how, though generally more depressing, I actually preferred a cloudy sky to a clear one. Two vast expanses of blue separated do not have that quality of diversity that a more speckled display boasts. This is not to say that a cloudy sky is wholly unfortunate, because there were moments amidst the grey that I learned to dwell in. I learned to live in the moments where the heavens would tear through the sky as if digging through dirt, creating little bursts of pastel light in the otherwise desaturated gloom. It's as if clouds are nothing but a frame. I wonder if without them, happiness would turn into a flat portrait of stagnation.
Game is really dense. Like, you don't accomplish, puzzle solving or anything like that, but it's still dense and you choose to apply your brain to it. Make the leap. Okay. Another beast. Had the bird in the last episode, now we got this thing. Only 4 fingers, huh? Here we go. The leap. Mm-hmm.
We're almost there, Leviathan. The final step between me and the old city's upon us. I wish I could take you along.
Can't take Leviathan along to the old city, eh? Okay.
Will you remember me? After all, I could never forget you. And how can I even begin to thank you for all that you've done for me? You protected me from a world that I was too weak to bear. But now the distant shores of another reality are calling me home. To something I've never seen before. A dangerous and unpredictable world lies ahead of me. But I'm ready to let loose the sails.
What is this? I've been... Speaking of sailing... Okay, what's over here? Ooh, more stuff. It started when I was a child. I'm sure it started just after I began to ask questions. I asked them over and over until my poor parents were forced to resort to arbitrary certainties. Why, I asked. Why? Over and over. I wanted to regress until I hit a point where I said so was the only acceptable answer. It was at that moment, that small moment of parental authority, that I felt safe. In the most bizarre and unfortunate turn of events, I fell downward into the acceptance of an end to regression. Ah, but the good was never perfect, was it? All I wanted was the good. I wanted to maintain my happiness, my contentment, even if it was born of a less than ideal perspective. But what is an ideal perspective, anyway? What is the perfection that I should have latched onto? That's just the fun of it, isn't it? It isn't real. It's a dream, my dear reader. The ideal was never real. It was never within my grasp to even attempt to reach it. It was never within my grasp. To even attempt to reach it would have destroyed my happiness. The child in me could not handle this. However, so I rejected the ideal. I wanted to remain safe, yes, and I did so until it happened. Okay. What else?
My father once recited a poem to me about an older world. I believe it was called Dover Beach. I can still remember the imagery, just the words that escape me. We stood at the shoreline, waves crashing in, each wave eroding yet another piece of what I once believed. I think my father saw what was happening to me. He saw the dwindling of my dreams, the death of discovery. I could no longer rely on ABBA to build my dreams back up. Left with nothing, I convinced myself that there were no dreams.
Like dreams represent the ideal and idealism. Okay. It happened, I fell. I began to defend my happiness with arbitrary walls made of certainty and realism. I created rules and structures that only had the effect of caging me in something entirely arbitrary. I did this all for the sake of happiness, yes. As the others began to encroach on my cage, the dwellers with differing perspectives, I became more vigilant in my defense until I was villainous. I harmed anyone who dared challenge my sight. Of course, I was never a dweller. I never had their communal spirit. Even from the start of the end, I was called a Minotaur. That was simply due to my misanthropy. However, and it had hardly anything to do with my desire for the inland. Although it is true that their communal tendencies tend to make it difficult to break out of their cage, but I dare say it isn't impossible. At first I thought the inland was a farce. I had been told by the few other Minotaurs that I'd seen that it was some sort of center for enlightenment amidst our fallen world. The dwellers who had spoken to me on the subject had a far less optimistic understanding. Then again, why would they need enlightenment when certainty already exists? Minotaurs have the advantage of being self-deprecatory. That is to say, when you have no true arrogance manifested in certainty, you'll latch on to any anchor you can find. It was the same for me, it seems. As I eventually adopted the notion that the inland held the answers, I also began to feel as though I had none. My desperation grew as I lost all sense of truth. I began to feel my sight fading, and the thoughts of suicide crept in. I had truly hit the bottom of the broken progression. This was an especially unfortunate place to be in, as it then became impossible to see the upward tangent. The leap becomes obscured by void, and there doesn't appear to be any progression at all. Okay, this way. Okay. Dun-dun. What have we here? Everything changed, however, when I learned to use my dreams. I had always dreamed, of course, but the question was that of their usefulness, not their existence. I could not escape them, so the latter point was moot. Dreams have an incredibly powerful hold on one's perspective of reality, even if they have little to do with it themselves. After following my assumption was that the dreams existed to taunt me, they seemed to only contrast the ideal with the real. This made the real all the more depressing, but I do not believe that this is where the dreams have their use. Dreams act as impossible ideals that should never be fully grasped. Rather, they should serve only as a direction or progression. The dream will never be realized in your lifetime, dear reader, but the real will change marginally, a marginal effect caused by a relatively small part of humanity. Your task is to bring the dreams to the real, even if the effect is marginal. One giant leap, reader. Abraham, they call me. At least that is the name I gave to the young dweller who asked me the other day. What an irrelevant question. My name is as important as my status as an individual. Anyway, I could see the glimmer of pointlessness in his eyes. It is the driving force behind progression. If only he could accept the marginal nature of the process. He must be able to remove his worth as an individual so that he may take his own leap for only a small reward. When meaning is deconstructed, the only driving force for progress is the acceptance of uncertainty. Dreams. The old city never offered enlightenment. On the contrary, it offers only further dreaming, and it is now time for me to take my leap. I wish more would come along. Interesting. I feel like it's talking about idealism, comparing dreams to sort of the ideal way we want reality to be. Okay, so I was here before. I have a lot of thoughts about what's going on here, but I don't want to just start blabbering because I won't articulate them well. Nothing there. Okay, we gotta jump down. Oh, yes, good. There is a jump function here. I've just never used it. That's weird. Okay, we went up there. Now we're heading this way. Like, oftentimes, like the debate Christians often have with, you might say, political progressives, for example, who don't...
Here it is.
Oh.
The leap.
The leap.
Goodbye, my old friend.
Yeah, the debate Christians often have with, like, you know, maybe political progressives who maybe don't have any religious affiliation, who might act as if reality is more relative, will talk about progress, but they won't ground their idea of what progress is. Because to have progress, you have to have a destination you're aiming towards, but they often talk as if, you know, there is no objective thing we're aiming towards, as a Christian would say that we have. And so oftentimes I think Christians look at idealism, this idea that there's this objective ideal, and they think it is Christianity. And I think that's kind of what this game's talking about, is like a more of an abstract idealism. Well, I think a lot of things are about to get talked about here. I'm not exactly giving a conclusion to my thoughts, but I think that's sort of where my brain's at as I listen to this, reading and stuff.
If this final dream before the new is to be trusted, then all life follows the pattern of broken progression. Some call it redemptive history, still others call it galvanization, yet the trajectory is undoubtedly the same. We exist on a familiar shoreline, with the waters lapping at our feet. We look back and see an explored and thus frozen world. Then, as if subconsciously recognizing the need for change, we dive into a prison of even further inactivity. My prison was my only friend, it seems, but even he saw fit to spit me upon a new shore.
What do we got? I think we have another book here. The one constant between the factions is a distrust in this new world, the world of ideas. Then again, this makes sense given that their ideas are not truly their own. What's most interesting to me is that their ideas are based on essentially nothing, which is by no means a bad thing, if only they could recognize it. They have the same core in Abyss, but the deduction can still function. I understand the need to push their ideas to make them win out in this abstract world they share with the others, because truth must be compatible with itself. However, once the core is unveiled as void, one cannot be certain that their own ideas are the most fit for survival. Thus, the ideas need do battle with themselves and by themselves in the world of the mirrors, the dream. If truth must be compatible with itself, making it singular and unchanging, you need only let your ideas, the ones that you hold dear, exist in the same space. The same dream as the others that you reject. The mind will never be able to see truth in its fullest extent, but this sea of minds we call humanity will uncover it piece by piece if the ideas are left alone to do their work. Not through violence, rules, activism, or education will the ideas evolve. Only through idealism can the ideas be truly changed for good. Yeah, there's the term, idealism. A marginal effect, yes, but we must make giant leaps as individuals toward the ideal, knowing that it will result in only a small step for mankind, because your experience and your individuality is worth nothing in the light of the greater and entirely imaginary eschaton. You cannot expect the others to take this leap with you. Rather, you can only model that leap for future minds. You can only point in the direction of the ideal, rushing toward it with all your might, knowing that you will never reach it in the 1,000 ages. You will never see the dream realized. It is for this reason that this new world is useful beyond escape. Nineveh needs only the ideas and nothing more. Not destruction, not legal action, not social reform, and not decay. Nineveh only needs the ideas and the ideas alone. You need them as well, and you must resist the urge to sail into oblivion, to Tarshish. Rather, sail into discovery. Sail to a world where your ideas die and new ones take their place, so you can bring back your findings to the world, to Nineveh, to enjoy their fruits. Trust stupid ideas to die with stupid people. Jonah. Interesting. Moving on. So in a sense, it's basically saying, like, trust the nature of reality to manifest itself over time without battling for it tyrannically. Some truth to that. Talk about freedom of religion, freedom of ideas in America, for example. America. Even as Christians, we tend to agree with that because we don't want to enforce our ideas in a way that we wouldn't know if the person embracing them as a result is embracing them because of, pressure or because of their own, true belief in it.
I won't lie. I do miss Leviathan. It wasn't his fault that I was a parasite. But was he necessary at all? After being cast out, was devolution in his stomach the appropriate next step? Why couldn't I have simply washed ashore to the old city?
And so much of this game is about uncertainty between different modes of understanding truth. So there is a fundamental disagreement that, a biblically thinking Christian would have with this game, in that
perhaps Leviathan existed for me to discover him, even if that which I explored was my prison. Perhaps I simply needed to see the stagnation before evolving.
Yeah, there's a fundamental disagreement in that since we believe in revelation, we believe in certainty. As much certainty as a human could have, as opposed to, what God could have. There's a second half to that thought. That said, this game...
When I was a child, I was given a rowboat. I wanted to sail, so the universe built me a galleon. How unfortunate that, when I got older, I no longer wished to explore.
That said, this game... This whole idea of Leviathan, it seems to be like almost this protective force around Jonah that protects him from the absolute void of uncertainty, as he's describing it. As Christians, we kind of believe that it's like no matter how uncertain we are, there's this sort of objective reality to God, whether or not we believe in him, whether or not we say we believe in him. Biblically speaking, like Paul wrote, that everyone knows there's a God at a fundamental level.
I am going to explore again. I'm going to board my vessel and sail into an unknown world to dream all the more. I'll leave this dream behind to feel the sand of other shores in my hand, and let it loose as I travel inward towards newness. First, however, I'll make one last dive into Abyss.
All right, here we go. All the pipes come together. So much like environmental symbolism here. Whoa, I didn't even mean to jump yet, but there we are. Like some of the rooms had some of the switches up and down at certain times. This particular one had all of them up and flowing. Leviathan. Okay.
Here lies my captor, the great sleeping fish. My foundation's been disintegrated. I'm left with nothing but void. However, the baby of belief need not be thrown out with the bathwater of certainty. An assertion from an assumption is still an assertion, making any deduction from that foundation subject to critique. I may not be able to deduce from a place that I know to be true, but that which I deduce from my dreams must still be compatible with itself.
It's interesting, often thinkers like this, they'll, because of modern definition...
Like a child, I regressed with no end. Over and over I asked, why? As each answer demanded further questioning. Eventually, I convinced myself that the regression was nonsensical, by nature of it being childish. But what if that childlike curiosity is the vessel that can bring us to usefulness? What if we put aside the certainty and adopt discovery?
Yeah, like I was saying, thinkers like this will draw a distinction and encourage people of faith to draw a distinction between belief and certainty. Like there's faith, but it's like you can have faith, but it's because you can't have certainty. In other words, they're separate ideas, whereas I think like the biblical authors kind of defined them almost the same way. Faith is the certainty of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. But you can't really put them together unless you believe in revelation as a form of knowledge. Of course, that's not being taken into account here.
I think I was wrong. Dover isn't where my dreams died. It's where one dream took over. I dreamt that I had no dreams. I dreamt that Dover smothered my belief with certainty. In truth, a truth that I cannot know, Dover ran red. The dream of realism created a monopoly of comfortable stagnation that held me hostage until I could do nothing but cling to Leviathan's innards for safety. My belief was not truly killed, it was captured. One belief was deemed more true than another, and I convinced myself that I was correct. I convinced myself that I could be correct. What if this dream's monopoly was disintegrated? What if I could explore a multiplicity of dreams, never quite knowing which ones are a reality? Truth must be compatible with itself, but what happens when truth is unattainable? The Dwellers' dreams could function within themselves, from their foundation, as long as the factions recognize that foundation as a dream. What point would there be in conflict if the dreams cannot truly be controlled? They have their dreams and they cannot assert which is superior. So why not sail?
I think he's describing sailing sort of as being a receptor of reality as you discover it.
Solomon saw the illusion for what it was. He saw that the lack of dreams was a dream itself. His downfall was in his pessimism, however. He saw the manifesting process of dreams to be too slow. But of course it is, my dear Solomon. The dreams will never manifest in our lifetime, but that's where they have their worth. The dream, the ideal, is an object whose grasp should never be fully achieved. It is in the desire for the object that our true desire should lie. We should desire to desire, and in presenting the ideal to a fallen world, we will make incremental steps towards perfection as the eschaton approaches. One giant leap for a man, one small step for mankind, Solomon.
What was I saying? I was saying something. Nice. It's a crab. Like, there is a certain truth that a Christian could take from this, even while clinging to a certain kind of certainty this game would not promote, in that the truth is ultimately beyond us, in that it's not true because of our certainty. We are sort of resting in a reality that's beyond our control. It's what it means to be a creature, not a creator. Okay, if you drop down there, I think we end up where that crab is. So we just want to go up.
I would tell myself that the real world has shown itself like a clear blue sky, spotless in its vast and flat nature. I tricked my own mind into believing that belief itself was not present. Now that the illusion has been revealed, I'm left believing that I can't know.
Okay, I guess we're going this way. Can't believe it's already 8:45.
Truth must be compatible with itself based on a starting point I can't prove. I can't assert which dream is not a dream at all because they're all just dreams. Why not discover the dreams I can't control, rather than hiding portions of them away to let what I was certain of flourish?
Leviathan. Whoa. Into the belly of the big fish.
One last look at my cage. One last dive into the abyss of negativity. A terrible world full of terrible people, yes, but that can be changed. Epistemic humility can regress to the deconstruction of stagnation. What I previously thought to be stagnation itself, the lack of any true knowledge, is simply the deconstruction of an anchor, freeing us to traverse the unexplored. I swam the depths. I confronted the bottom of the redemptive checkmark. I was far more negative than those who still cling to certainty, but that's part of the progression. It's part of the broken progression. In this respect, we cannot improve without first deconstructing. Now, all that's left is to rise to the surface, board my vessel, and set sail for a new and terrifyingly uncertain world. The old city has called, and I wish that more would have the bravery to join me on my journey.
Oh, there's a lot there. And now we are at the entrance to the old city. Yes, that is the end. Minus some sound effects. Okay. I think there's credits. Wait and see. Nope. Alright, we did it. And there's the conclusion of part 2. And the game itself. So, well, I don't have a whole lot more to say that I didn't say during the actual gaming. It's just a lot to think about. I think those are issues, Christians need to sort through, even if, it's kind of uncomfortable, because these are the things people, maybe more academic people would think about when they're sorting through different beliefs. And to have a perspective on these things is important for Christians. I think I kind of gave mine as best I could. But anyways, thanks for joining. If you're visiting for the first time, go ahead and... I think most people watching now, only a couple people, Facebook folks, go ahead and jump over to Twitch or whatever, or YouTube, and subscribe or whatever. And